As stated at the beginning of this section, we are going to take a look at some of the institutions which comprise our government. The first institution we'll look at is that of the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is truly as close as we the people get to a true democracy. There are 435 members in the House of Representatives, and population dictates exactly how many representatives each state has. Members represent districts, not the whole state. Once again, members represent districts, not the whole state. We will look at the whole state concept when we get to the Senate. Districts are, however, established by the state. Of course, establishing districts can be a very contentious operation, as each political party would want the population in their district to favor their political interest. Now, when we look at districts, they're established based on a census that must be completed every 10 years. The census is mandated in the Constitution in Article 1, Section 2. Now, let's take a look at some of the leadership of the House and Senate. In the House, leadership is based on the majority and minority. Again, if the Republicans are in power, they will be the majority, and if the Democrats are not in power, therefore they would be the minority. This, however, shifts at election time. So, who has the most seats will elect the majority, of course, will elect the Speaker of the House. The Speaker is a very powerful individual who establishes who is assigned to committees, what legislation goes forward, and operation of the House of Representatives. The majority and minority leaders are, again, represented by the number of seats in the House, and they have people that help them, referred to as whips. The job of the whip is to keep the party members in line, and on any vote that may be close, they are supposed to go and check and see who is going to vote in favor or not in favor of any one piece of legislation. On to committees. Leadership committees is just the same as the majority leader and minority leader. The chairperson will be of the majority party, and the ranking member will be the senior member from the minority party. Structure changes once again when the majority in the House of Representatives changes. Remember, we elect these folks every 2 years, and sometimes we see a shift in between which party is actually in control of the House, and therefore the structure inside the House will change. Legislation, of course, is assigned to committees, and it is at this stage where we see that legislation either goes forward or, as often happens, dies in committee. An important matter here, though, is that all legislation that raises taxes must originate in the House of Representatives. Therefore, the House Ways and Means Committee is the most powerful in the House. Now, we know that the legislation goes from the House to the Senate to the President to be signed. However, before it goes to the President, both the House and the Senate must agree on a like form, meaning that legislation must be identical, both the House version and Senate version, before it goes to the states. And also, the House of Representatives is responsible for impeachment. And although the lesson states that government employees are impeachable, I ask that you do a little research above and beyond to see which government employees are actually impeachable. Let's take a quick look at the Senate leadership. Again, it's much the same as the House of Representatives, but the differences are the President of the Senate, much like the Speaker of the House, is the President of the United States. This position is rather ceremonial. In fact, it only really comes into play when there is a tie in the Senate. The president pro tempore fills in for the president of the Senate when he or she is not there, and is usually the ranking member of the majority party. Of course, once again, we have majority leaders and minority leaders who are assisted by whips. Now, let's take a look at the cabinet. This is where many people believe that the red tape in our bureaucracy begins. There are 15 cabinet positions, and if you've ever wondered about succession to the president, all you have to do is go from the president, of course, he's gone, the vice president, the speaker of the House, and then it goes down cabinet positions in rank of age to determine who will next fill that seat. The 25th Amendment covers that, of course. The Department of Homeland Security is the newest addition to the cabinet and is been designed to stop the threat of terrorism to our country. Of course, the intelligence agencies are still independent, meaning the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA all work autonomously to make sure that our country stays safe. Let's take a look at Congress and how once a law has passed, what actually happens, because Congress really does not enforce legislation. Once legislation is passed, it goes down to a cabinet member, to an agency, and there are 440 federal agencies. Once inside this agency, it's their job to implement new legislation by developing policies, rules, and enforcement measures to make sure that our laws are implemented the way Congress wants them. Now, when we start looking at the most powerful, of course, we can look at OSHA, the FCC, the EPA, or the alphabet soup of agencies, if you will, and see how they work and what kind of enforcement procedures they determine will effectively keep that legislation in place. Now, of course, we have to worry about agencies, a little bit too much overreach in their power. As once was said, absolute power corrupts absolutely, but our founding fathers were smart enough to put in checks and balances, even on agencies. Should an individual or a corporation determine that one of the agencies has overreached or overstepped their authority, we can take it into our judicial branch, who will take a look at the issue and determine if the agency has overstepped their boundaries. Well, folks, this is the end of our look at our institutions embedded inside our government. I hope this helped enlighten you a little bit prior to the curriculum, which you will see momentarily.